everyone, welcome back to another episode of Building with Boot, our long-term solo survival world. Last episode we focused on putting some finishing touches around our starting village. Today I want to focus on the surrounding area of Nax Hollow, which is where we're starting off. Our plans today involve something that a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy, and that is, of course, the fancy oak tree. Most people hate these because of how difficult they are to cut down, with oak logs scattered all over the place throughout the leaves. However, these trees do have a super useful quality about them, specifically for building. And that is that they just look super nice as a landscaping tree. And I'm going to show you just how useful they can be, especially when you group them together in a forest. So you might be asking yourself, well, how do I get this type of tree to be able to build with it? Well, I'm going to show you how right now. So, if you take 9 glass blocks and arrange them 1 block above the ground in a circle with a hole in the middle, put an oak sapling in the middle, and then bone meal it, this part can take a while sometimes, but it will always grow into a fancy tree. Now, it won't always be this big. This one is gigantic. Sometimes it'll be a little smaller. And yes, that's a bit of a pain in the butt to do, but the end result is absolutely beautiful. How can I be so sure that it's worth it? Well, I've already been working over here on part of the forest I want to build, so let me go ahead and show you just what I mean. This is the area that I've already worked on. It's super dense, super lush, and looks amazing, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. I want this entire area I'm outlining right now to be the forest that I want to build. And we're going to call this area Terra's Woods. As we approach this section I've already worked on, you can see that utilizing these trees as a forest creates a semi-spooky vibe, with the real feeling of being in an actual forest. Making sure small oak trees aren't present creates unique sight lines and the feeling of being kind of small, surrounded by an old, overgrown trees. Throw in some bone meal to make short and tall grass, some lights conveniently placed under leaf blocks to add some ambiance, and a dusty path with hanging lanterns, and you've got yourself a forest that you can really get lost in. As you can see, this just looks amazing to walk through. Now imagine a whole huge forest like this, and these gaps of light that you see are not going to be here when we're done. It's all going to look like this at some point. Just dark, creepy, spooky, only a few lanterns to guide your path, and it's going to be a nice path to walk on with your horse. To achieve this look properly, it's important to place the saplings close enough that not much light, if any, gets through the canopy. You're trying to minimize the light as much as possible, but if there are holes, don't worry. You can always go and patch them up later with leaf blocks. You also want to make sure that you aren't placing the trees too close together, because too many logs will ruin the effect. I typically try to offset the trees as well, so there aren't too many in the same row, at least close together. So you'll notice I've placed some soul lanterns underneath of the leaf blocks out here in the forest. They don't go all the way out past the area that I've worked on. I keep them kind of close to the path, and there's 2 reasons for this. One, it typically tends to keep mob spawns down right on the edge of the path, which is useful so you don't get slaughtered as you're running through here. And 2, when you are on the path, it just kind of creates a little bit more of an ambiance and a distance between the light and the dark areas of the forest. Now, this part's not big enough yet to really show that darkness that you'll get at the farther distances, but it will happen. It will happen once this is all done. And you can kind of see that darkness right here on this hill because there aren't any lights over there, except for maybe a few holes up in the canopy there that I have not patched up yet. You can also throw in a few fence posts along the way of your path just to add a little bit of interest. So I've got my shulker of saplings, plenty of bone meal, and I'm ready to get going. Let's hop into a time lapse here as I try to get as much of this forest done as I can in 1 hour. And the time lapse is over. Unfortunately, one of my recordings got corrupted, so you're only able to watch half the time I spent on this whole area. We knocked out a decent chunk, though I'm not surprised that we didn't finish. This is going to be a lot of work and an ongoing process to get through this entire massive area. I wanted to point out, too, that you may have noticed during the time lapse that the trick with the glass doesn't always work. Sometimes we got small trees, and in those cases, we just chopped them down and tried again. If you're wondering how I cut down the trees so quickly, it's because of a data pack I use called Timber, which allows you to cut down the trees almost instantly. It uses the same amount of durability as cutting through the whole tree would take. It just saves you a ton of time and is especially helpful on mangrove trees and, of course, these fancy oak trees. And I highly recommend it to you. You can take out a tree with just one swoop. How about that? And you know what? I think Terra's Woods is really starting to look good here from Nax Hollow. Anyway, that's all I have time for today. I really hope this inspired you to use the large oak trees in your own world. I'm going to continue working on this off camera, and next episode, we will be returning here to put in some of the final details under the canopy, as well as finally updating our game to 1.20 and doing some exploring. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, as it helps me greatly. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.